Imagine getting a 300K inheritance from your grandparents at 21 and deciding to share it equally with your two half-brothers, even though legally you owe them nothing. I gave them 150K total out of love. Then they turned on me. Threats, lawsuits, public shaming, calling me a thief for not giving more. But they had no idea grandparents knew about Dad's secret affairs and set up a second hidden fund for his other kids. This is my raw, satisfying revenge story, how I shut down the greed, exposed the truth, and watched their family implode, while finding real siblings who actually love me. Betrayal, boundaries, and epic karma. You won't believe the ending. Hey everyone, my name is Emily. I'm 25, living in Seattle, Washington, the city of endless rain, incredible coffee, and those stunning views of Puget Sound on the rare sunny days. I work as a graphic designer for a small tech startup in Capitol Hill, the kind of job that lets me work remotely most days in leggings and oversized sweaters while sipping lattes from my favorite indie shop down the street. Life's been pretty good lately. Stable job, cozy apartment with a view of the Space Needle and clear nights, a couple of close friends I brunch with on weekends. But underneath it all, there's this shadow that's been following me for years: family. When I was 3, my grandparents, Dad's parents, passed away within months of each other. I barely remember them, just fuzzy memories of warm hugs and the smell of fresh-baked cookies. What I do remember clearly is the letter they left me, read aloud by their lawyer when I turned 21. They'd set up a savings account in my name. By then, it had grown to just over $300,000. The letter was beautiful, full of love, pride, and one specific wish: that I share the money fairly with any other Smith-Jones children, meaning full siblings from my dad, Smith, and mom, Jones. They trusted me to decide what fair meant. I never had full siblings. Mom and Dad divorced when I was 5, and Dad quickly married his affair partner, my stepmom. Together, they had 2 boys, Joe, now 21, and Mac, 19. I call them my brothers. I love them. We grew up together. Holidays, birthdays, family vacations. They're Smiths, not Smith-Joneses, but I always saw them as family. So when I turned 21 and gained access to the money, I decided the fairest thing was to split it 3 ways, 100K each up front, and whatever was left when Mac turned 21 would be divided again. It felt right, generous, like honoring my grandparents' spirit. Dad encouraged me to buy a house. I found the perfect little townhouse in Fremont, 130K, cute backyard, walking distance to the canal. I only had 100K liquid, so Dad suggested I borrow the extra 30K from the account temporarily. Pay it back before the boys turn 21, Dad said. No one will know. I did it. I've been paying it back faithfully. The account should be around 208K right now, but because of the withdrawal and repayments, it's at 195K. I still owe 13K. No big deal, I thought. Plenty of time. Then Joe turned 21. I started transferring his 100K in installments because he asked for it that way, to avoid blowing it all at once. When he saw the balance, he noticed it was lower than expected. I explained everything: the house, the loan, my plan to have it all repaid before Mac's turn. Joe smiled at first, said he understood. Then he told Mac. That night, my phone blew up. Texts from both of them. You stole from us. That was our money too. You owe us the full 13K plus interest, at least 3K for what we lost in growth. They wanted it all, 16K total, paid into the account by summer, less than 6 months. My chest tightened reading it, hands shaking. This was my brothers, the kids I babysat, defended at school, shared Christmas mornings with. I called Joe, voice calm. I'll pay it back, but over 2 years like I planned. I can't do 16K in 6 months. They didn't budge. Next day, they emailed a contract demanding the full amount in 6 months, or they'd seek legal advice. I drove to Dad's house in Bellevue to sign it in person, thinking we could talk it out. They slid the paper across the kitchen table. Same demand, 6 months. I pushed back. We agreed on 2 years. Mac sneered. Figure it out, Em. That's our inheritance you messed with. Joe added coldly, we'll sue if we have to. For the $16K, the rest of the account, plus damages. You betrayed us. My throat closed. Betrayed. I'd given them $150K total, voluntarily, when legally I owed them nothing. And now I was the thief? I stood up, hands trembling. You know what? Legally, you were never entitled to a cent. This was for Smith Jones kids only. I shared because I love you. But this attitude? I walked out. That night, the injustice hit me like a wave. Curled on my couch in Seattle rain, pounding the windows, tears streaming. They took my generosity and twisted it into theft, used family love as a weapon. And the worst part? They thought I'd cave, because I always had. But not this time. Something inside me broke, and in the silence, something new started burning. This wasn't over, not even close. The days after walking out of Dad's house blurred into a nightmare. Seattle's gray skies felt heavier than ever, constant drizzle mirroring the storm inside me. I'd given Joe about $50K already, stopped the rest of the transfers cold. Then the barrage started. Texts, calls, voicemails. Joe, you can't just keep our money, Em. That's theft. Mac, we trusted you. How could you do this to family? Dad even chimed in. Sweetheart, just pay them back quick. Keep the peace. Keep the peace. Like always. I explained again, calmly, in writing, that legally the money was never theirs. I'd shared out of love. Their threats changed everything. Radio silence from me after that. Then they went nuclear. Social media. Joe posted a long Facebook rant, public, my name tagged. Saddest day realizing my own sister is trying to steal my inheritance. Our grandparents left money for all 3 grandkids, and now she's keeping hundreds of thousands that should be shared. After everything our family's been through, blood isn't thicker than greed, I guess. Mac shared it with his own caption. Never thought I'd see the day my big sis turned into a thief. Extended family piled on. Aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years messaging me. This isn't like you, Emily. Think of your brothers. Honor your grandparents' wishes. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. I sat in my apartment, rain lashing the windows, chest so tight I could barely breathe. Shaking hands, dry throat, tears I didn't want to shed. They painted me as the villain, greedy, cold, betrayer, when all I'd done was share, generously, what was legally entirely mine. And now they were using family love, grandparents' memory, and public shame to bully me into giving more. They doubled down. Dad called, just give them what they want, Em. They're hurt. Hurt? They were hurt? I hung up. The wound wasn't just deep now. It was infected. Rage mixed with grief. These were my brothers, the boys I taught to ride bikes, who I defended when stepmom favored them, who I included in everything even when Dad barely showed up for me after the divorce. And now they were destroying my reputation to get more money I didn't owe them. The injustice burned, but under it, something colder grew. Resentment. They thought tears and family pressure would make me fold. They thought I was still the people-pleasing big sister who'd do anything to avoid conflict. They were wrong. The anger was shifting from pain to power. I wasn't going to cry forever. I was going to protect what was mine and what my grandparents truly intended. They wanted this war? Fine, but they had no idea who they were fighting. Not anymore. A week of pure hell. The social media posts spread like wildfire across every platform they could tag me on. Family group chats I wasn't even in. Screenshots forwarded to me by a sympathetic cousin, filled with people I hadn't seen in years, calling me selfish, ungrateful, not the Emily we raised. Stepmom commented publicly on Joe's post, absolutely devastated to see this kind of greed tear our family apart. Greed from the woman who married my dad while he was still married to my mom? I stopped sleeping. I'd lie in bed staring at my ceiling fan spinning slow circles in the dark, the Seattle rain drumming against the windows like it was trying to get in. Heart racing, mind replaying every generous thing I'd ever done for them. The Christmases I used my own part-time job money to buy their gifts when Dad forgot. The hours I spent helping Joe with college essays. The late-night drives to pick Mac up from parties when he was too drunk to call anyone else. All of it twisted now, weaponized against me. Then came the final straw, an email from a lawyer, obviously a template they'd found online and filled in themselves, threatening to sue me for the full remaining account balance, the $16K plus interest, emotional distress damages, and punitive costs. They were 21 and 19, using fake legalese to bully me into submission. I drove to a coffee shop in Ballard, parked under the awning as rain poured down in sheets, and just sat in my car, hands gripping the wheel, tears streaming, sobbing until my ribs hurt and I couldn't catch my breath. Rock bottom, curled over the steering wheel in a public parking lot, feeling utterly, completely alone. Betrayed by the only family I thought I had. They didn't just want money. They wanted to punish me for setting a boundary, for daring to say this far and no further. That's when the shift happened. The tears slowed. My breathing steadied. I looked up, caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, red-rimmed eyes, wet cheeks, hair plastered from the rain, and something inside me clicked. No more. They weren't going to take my peace, my grandparents' gift, my self-respect. I wiped my face with the sleeve of my hoodie, started the car, drove home through the downpour with the wipers on full speed, opened my laptop the second I walked in, started researching. Trust laws in Washington state, specific wording in inheritance documents, Dad's history, the affairs I'd overheard whispers about my whole life. Then a Facebook message notification popped up from a guy named Chris Smith, 27 years old, profile picture, a man who looked uncannily like my dad at that age. Message, "Hey Emily, this is gonna sound crazy, but I think I'm your half-brother. I've been trying to find you for years. Your dad's post about the inheritance came up in my feed because someone tagged you, and here we are." He sent photos. Him as a kid with Dad, with our grandparents, even one with toddler me at a family barbecue I didn't remember. Then screenshots, his own savings account statement, $150,000, a scanned letter from our grandparents, different wording, money meant to be shared fairly among Dad's illegitimate children, and a mention of another sibling, an 18-year-old sister. My heart stopped. I called my lawyer the next morning, showed her everything, Chris's documents, my original letter, the accounts. Her words were quiet, but they changed everything. "Emily, there are two separate trusts, one for legitimate Smith-Jones children, one for children born outside the marriage. Joe and Mac, they have zero legal claim to either." The breaking point wasn't tears anymore. It was clarity, cold, sharp, unstoppable. I wasn't the villain. I was the one who'd been far too generous for far too long. And now I was done playing nice. They wanted to drag grandparents' memory through the mud, threaten me, turn family against me? Fine, but the game just changed, drastically. I had real siblings now, ones who didn't demand, who didn't threaten, who just wanted connection. And I had the truth, the full, undeniable truth. They'd pushed me to the edge, now I was gonna push back, harder, smarter. And when I did, they'd wish they'd never started this. The decision was made. No more Miss Nice Sister. No more swallowing betrayal to keep the peace. They wanted war over money they were never entitled to. They were about to get it, but on my terms, with every weapon they never knew I had. The fire wasn't just lit. It was roaring, and it was aimed straight at them. They had no idea what was coming, but they would, soon. The weeks after Chris's message, I changed. Quietly. Deeply, in ways no one around me would ever notice. On the outside, I was still the same Emily everyone knew. Remote work days in my cozy Fremont townhouse, posting stories of weekend hikes in Discovery Park, grabbing matcha lattes with friends in Capitol Hill, smiling in selfies under the cherry blossoms that line the UW campus in spring. laughing at brunches, sharing book recommendations, looking to the world like I was thriving. But inside, I was becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone they'd never seen coming. It started with Chris. We moved from messages to Zoom calls, cautious at first, both of us testing the waters. He was kind, thoughtful, didn't push, sent the DNA test kits himself. When the results came back, 99.9% match, half siblings, we both cried on a video call. Then Mia joined, our 18-year-old half-sister. Shy at first, but sweet. She'd grown up knowing about us, but never felt welcome to reach out. We talked for hours, compared childhood photos, shared the letters from our grandparents. Piece by piece, the full picture emerged. Grandparents weren't naive. They knew about Dad's affairs. They protected us all separately. One fund for legitimate Smith-Jones children, me, one for children born outside the marriage, Chris and Mia. Specific wording, no overlap, no way for one side to claim the others. They'd seen this coming, the greed, the resentment, the family drama, and they shielded us from it. I hired a trusts and estates lawyer in downtown Seattle, one of the best, highly recommended on local forums, known for being discreet and fierce. Met her in her sleek Belltown office overlooking Elliott Bay. Showed her everything. Original letter, account statements, Chris and Mia's documents, the threats from Joe and Mac. Her verdict was calm, clear, final. Emily, this is airtight. Joe and Mac have zero legal claim to either fund. You could keep every single penny without justification. The $50K you already gave Joe, that was pure generosity. You owe nothing more. I paid off the remaining $13K I'd borrowed that same week, transferred it back quietly, account fully restored. Then I started documenting everything, screenshots of every threatening text, every harassing email, every defamatory social media post, family messages calling me greedy, all dated, all organized in a password-protected folder labeled Taxes 2025, harmless if anyone ever saw my laptop. I observed them from a distance. Joe's Instagram, new car photos, weekend trips, captions about finally living my best life. Mac's stories, complaints about college costs, subtle digs about waiting for what's mine. Dad's occasional messages, let's talk this out, kiddo, family first. Stepmom's passive-aggressive Facebook memes about forgiveness and blood being thicker than water. They underestimated me. Thought I was still the soft, forgiving big sister who hated conflict, who'd do anything to avoid being the bad guy, who'd cave under family pressure and guilt. They had no idea the fire burning under my calm exterior. Every morning run along the Burke-Gilman Trail, rain or shine, every yoga class overlooking Lake Union, every late-night session reading legal documents and trust law, it was all fuel. I was preparing. Not screaming, not begging for understanding, not posting my side publicly, yet, just building something unbreakable, something they couldn't argue against, something rooted in truth, in law, in grandparents' actual wishes. The nice, people-pleasing girl they knew, she was gone. In her place, a woman who'd been betrayed one too many times, who knew her worth, who knew the full story now, who had real siblings, ones who didn't demand, didn't threaten, didn't shame. Chris and Mia. We made plans to meet in person soon. No drama, just connection. The transformation was complete. I was calm on the surface, focused underneath, ready. They thought silence meant I was hurting, weak, giving up. They were wrong. Silence meant strategy. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was planning. Every move calculated, every piece in place. They'd started this war over money they were never entitled to. Now I was going to end it on my terms, with facts they couldn't twist, with boundaries they couldn't cross, with consequences they couldn't avoid. They thought they'd won by making me the villain. They had no idea. The real story was just beginning, and when it unfolded, they'd wish they'd never pushed me this far. The quiet ones don't break. We rebuild. Stronger, smarter, unstoppable. And when we're ready, we don't just survive. We win. Completely. They'd learn that soon.
very soon.
Fall rain returned to Seattle. Soft, constant, washing the city clean in sheets of gray. I decided it was time for the first real move. Subtle, legal, undeniable. Nothing that could ever be twisted back on me. I sat at my kitchen table one Saturday morning, Puget Sound fog rolling in outside my window, laptop open and a fresh Americano cooling beside me. My lawyer had already reviewed everything. Now it was time to act. First move, the formal letter. She drafted it perfectly, professional, calm, devastating. A cease and desist. Addressed to Joe, Mac, Dad, and stepmom individually. Sent certified mail with return receipt, plus email copies for good measure. The language was ice-cold clear. The trust was established solely for Smith-Jones children, full siblings from Dad and Mom's marriage. Joe and Mac, as legitimate children from Dad's second marriage, had no legal entitlement to any portion. I had voluntarily transferred $50,000 to Joe as an act of familial generosity. No further transfers would be made. All threats of legal action, public defamation, and harassment must stop immediately. Any continued behavior would result in legal action for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and harassment, with all evidence, screenshots, posts, messages, preserved and ready. I read it 3 times, felt my pulse quicken, not fear, but that sharp, focused rush. I signed the approval. She sent them that afternoon. Seed 1, planted. That same week, I made the second move. Quieter, but just as powerful. I finished paying back the remaining $13,000 I'd borrowed for the house, transferred it from my own savings, account balance restored to full. No more loose ends, no more ammunition for their "you stole from us" narrative. Then, with Chris and Mia's full permission, I prepared the third seed, a private document, a simple PDF timeline. Grandparents' letters side by side, account statements, DNA results confirming Chris and Mia, no accusations, just facts. Titled Family Trust Clarification. Not public, not yet, just ready, in case anyone needed the full truth. The letters went out on a Monday. By Tuesday evening, my phone started lighting up. Joe, this is bullshit, Em. A cease and desist, really? Mac, you're actually threatening us with lawyers? Dad, 3 missed calls, then a voicemail, voice tight, pleading. Emily, honey, this has gone too far. Just talk to your brothers. We can fix this. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. The letter spoke for me. By Wednesday, the hidden win appeared. Silence online. Joe's public post, still up, but no new comments. No more shares. No more family piling on. Mac deleted his repost. Stepmom's passive-aggressive memes stopped. The extended family messages slowed to a trickle, then stopped. The pressure had landed. They were confused, angry, but suddenly cautious. Legal paper changes everything. It's not just words anymore. It's evidence. It's consequences. I posted nothing about it, went about my week like normal, met friends for happy hour in Fremont, shared a story of the new mural at the canal, smiled in photos. Let them still. Let them realize I wasn't bluffing, wasn't crying in a corner, wasn't begging for forgiveness. I was standing firm, protected, lawyered up, and completely unafraid. Joe's flashy spending posts slowed. The new car photos disappeared from his feed. Mac's stories turned to complaints about adulting being hard. They were feeling it. The first real crack. The first taste of what happens when you threaten someone who's done being pushed. And this was only the beginning. The first move on the board. Quiet, calculated, effective. They thought a scary letter from a lawyer would make me panic and pay. They were wrong. It made me stronger. The seeds were planted. Legal protection, financial restoration, truth ready in reserve. The tension was rising. They just didn't know how much more was coming, or from where. I sipped my coffee that Saturday, watching ferries cut through the foggy sound. Felt that small, secret rush again, a hidden win only I knew about. The game was officially on, and I was playing it masterfully. They wanted to come for what was mine? Fine, but they'd started a war they couldn't win. Because now, I had everything I needed, and they had no idea what was next. But they would, very soon. The calm was over. The consequences were just beginning, and I was ready for every single one. Winter settled over Seattle like a heavy blanket. Short gray days, holiday lights twinkling on houseboats in Lake Union, the constant patter of rain turning to occasional sleet that dusted the Olympics in the distance. But at Dad's house in Bellevue, the atmosphere was anything but festive. The pressure I'd started was building, steadily, relentlessly, from every direction. Joe's flashy spending slowed to a crawl. The new car photos disappeared from his Instagram. No more weekend getaway stories from Leavenworth or Whistler. His feed went quiet except for the occasional gym selfie or vague quote about grinding through tough times. Word from a mutual friend, the car got repossessed. Couldn't keep up payments on the $50K he'd already received. Mac's college plans hit a wall. He'd been counting on his share for next semester's tuition and off-campus housing. Now applications stalled. Stories turned bitter, complaints about financial aid forms, part-time job searches, adulting being harder than expected. He moved back home from the dorms mid-quarter. Saved money, sure, but lost independence and pride. Family gatherings grew awkward. Thanksgiving invites came, then quiet withdrawals when I declined. Aunts who'd messaged me angrily weeks earlier went silent. No more think of your brothers lectures. Dad tried one last family dinner push. Come over for Christmas Eve, Em. We'll put all this behind us. I said no, politely, firmly. The silence from their side online was the loudest change. Joe's original Facebook rant, still up but frozen in time. No new comments, no shares. Mac deleted his repost entirely. Stepmom's passive-aggressive memes about forgiveness and family vanished. They were feeling the weight. Confusion first. Why isn't she responding? Why isn't she caving? Then frustration. Group texts between them. I saw screenshots later, forwarded by Chris after Dad started messaging him desperately. Joe, she's seriously lawyered up. We can't post anything else. Mac, our own lawyers said we don't have a case. Like zero. Dad, just give her space. She'll come around. But I, wasn't coming around. Paranoia started creeping in. Dad asking mutual friends if I was okay, code for, is she going to sue? Stepmom overheard arguing with Dad, your kids are always the problem. First the affairs, now this money drama. Hints of deeper cracks. Financial pressure became real. Joe's remaining $50K dwindling fast. Bad investments, trying to keep up appearances. Mac watching his future shrink. No big lump sum coming to fix everything. They still thought they could wait me out. Still believed family guilt would win. Still had no idea about Chris, about Mia, about the second fund, about the full truth grandparents had protected. I stayed silent, calculated, worked my design deadlines, ran in the rain along the ship canal, met friends for holiday markets in Westlake Center, posted cheerful stories, hot cider, fairy lights, zero drama. Let the pressure cook them slowly, from the inside. I reflected some nights, curled on my couch with a blanket and the Space Needle glowing through the mist. Remembered every sacrifice I'd made for them, every time I put their needs above mine, every moment I swallowed hurt to keep the peace. Now, they were living the consequences of their own greed. Financial strain, social isolation, family tension boiling over. And I hadn't raised my voice once, hadn't posted a single rebuttal, hadn't spent a dime beyond the lawyer's retainer. The stakes were rising significantly, Joe's pride cracking, Mac's future uncertain, Dad's marriage straining. They were starting to crack, to question, to fear what came next. The pressure was delicious, because it was theirs now, not mine. I'd carried the weight of generosity too long. Now they carried the weight of entitlement, and it was heavy. Real heavy. The systems were working, legal protection holding, community backing off, truth waiting in the wings. I could feel the collapse coming. Imminent, unstoppable. They'd created this chaos. Now they lived in it. And I was at peace, watching from the calm. They thought threats and shame would break me. They were wrong. It forged me. The best part? I hadn't even played my strongest card yet. Chris, Mia, the full family secret. That was coming, and when it did, everything would shatter for them, irreparably. The pressure was building to a breaking point. Theirs, not mine. They wanted this fight. They were about to lose it, spectacularly, and I'd barely lifted a finger. Yet. The holiday season hit Seattle hard. Twinkling lights draped over the houseboats on Lake Union, the great wheel glowing against the dark water, carolers in Westlake Center, and that rare dusting of snow that makes the city feel magical for a day before it melts into slush. But across the bridge in Bellevue, at Dad's big suburban house, the mood was anything but merry. The trap I'd quietly set was tightening now, multiple systems closing in at once, and there was no easy way out for them. The legal front held firm. My lawyer sent a follow-up letter in early December, polite reminder that the cease and desist was active. Any further harassment, defamation, or attempts to access the account would trigger immediate filing for damages. Copies to all four again. Certified mail. They received it right before Thanksgiving. Social media went completely dead on the topic. Joe's public rant, he made it private, visible only to friends. Mac deleted every related story highlight. Stepmom scrubbed her passive-aggressive posts. No more rallying the family troops. The extended relatives who'd piled on, radio silence. Aunts unfriended me quietly rather than risk more drama. Uncles stopped the "call your brothers" texts. The harassment stopped cold. Financial pressure hit harder. Joe's remaining money from the $50K was evaporating. Mutual friends told me the new car got repossessed in November, couldn't keep up the payments. He moved back home, too, posting vague quotes about learning lessons the hard way. Mac's college semester ended early, withdrew from 2 classes he couldn't afford books for, took a full-time retail job over holidays. Living at home again, no off-campus apartment dreams. Dad's marriage was cracking openly now. Stepmom had found old bank statements, letters, something, hints of the affairs that produced Chris and Mia. Arguments escalated. A cousin who still talked to Mac spilled. Stepmom screaming about all your lies coming back now. Dad sleeping in the guest room, then the home office, then looking at short-term rentals. The house felt like a pressure cooker. Dad's voicemails to me grew desperate. It's Christmas. Come over. We'll put this behind us. The boys miss you." Then quieter, "Things are rough here. Your stepmom, she's angry about everything coming out." Everything coming out. He still didn't know I knew about Chris and Mia, didn't know I'd connected with them, didn't know the full scope, but he was starting to feel the walls closing. He messaged Chris separately, screenshots Chris forwarded me. "Son, I know we haven't talked much, but any chance you could help your brothers out? They're struggling. Family should stick together." Chris's reply? Short, kind, but firm. "No, Dad, that money is separate, for a reason." Then blocked him. The trap was almost closed. Financial strain crushing Joe and Mac's lifestyles. Social isolation, family events awkward, invitations drying up. Marital breakdown, stepmom ready to kick Dad out for good. All converging. All because they couldn't accept generosity as enough, because they demanded what was never theirs. I sat on my lanai some evenings, yes, even in Seattle winter, with a blanket and hot tea, watching the lights reflect on the water. And I reflected on the pain every time I'd put them first. Babysitting for free so Dad and stepmom could date night, driving hours to their games when Mom was working double shifts, sharing my college care packages, giving, giving, giving. To be called greedy now? Thief? Betrayer? The emotional payoff was brewing, warm, deep, real. They were living the chaos they created. Joe's pride shattered, Mac's future uncertain, Dad's second marriage crumbling under secrets he thought were buried, stepmom discovering she'd been lied to for decades, and me? I was at peace, running my trails, working my dream job, planning a spring meetup with Chris and Mia in person. No guilt, no second guessing. The consequences were theirs, not mine. I hadn't exposed the full truth yet, hadn't told the family about Chris and Mia publicly, hadn't needed to. The pressure alone was doing the work. They were cracking, paranoia growing, blame shifting, Joe and Mac arguing over the $50K Joe wouldn't share, Dad begging everyone for solutions. The collapse was imminent. I could feel it. One more push, the full revelation, and it would all fall. Their image, their family, their control, gone. They thought threats would bring me back in line. They were wrong. It pushed me to protect myself, fully, finally. The trap was tight now. No charm could loosen it. No tears, no family first, please. They'd built this cage with entitlement. Now they lived in it, and the door was about to slam shut forever. The emotional satisfaction was close, so close. They started this. I was finishing it. And when I did, there'd be no going back for any of them. The storm was almost here, and this time, I was the calm in the center, watching it hit. Perfectly. New Year's week in Seattle. Cold, crisp air cutting through the rain. Fireworks over the Space Needle still fresh in everyone's stories. The city buzzing with resolutions and fresh starts. I decided it was time. No more quiet seeds. No more waiting for them to feel the pressure alone. It was time for the truth to go public. Carefully, completely, unstoppably. I sat at my desk on a quiet January afternoon, rain tapping steadily against the window, a fresh cup of coffee steaming beside me. Opened my email, drafted one message to the extended family distribution list, the one used for holiday cards, reunion invites, birth announcements. About 40 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, old friends, everyone who'd seen Joe's post, everyone who'd messaged me with judgment, everyone who'd stayed silent. Subject line simple, clearing the air about the inheritance situation. Body calm, factual, no caps lock rage, no emojis, just truth. Hey family, some of you have seen posts or heard stories about me stealing from my brothers regarding our grandparents' inheritance. I've stayed quiet until now, but I think it's time for clarity. Attached are the facts. Grandparents' original letter to me. The trust was specifically for any Smith-Jones children, full siblings from dad and mom's marriage. There are no others besides me. A separate trust exists for dad's children born outside his marriage to mom. I only learned this recently. I voluntarily shared $50,000 with Joe when he turned 21, an act of love, not obligation. Legally, neither he nor Mac had any claim. When they demanded more under threat of lawsuits and public shaming, I stopped further sharing. Evidence of threats and defamation is preserved. My lawyer has already sent cease and desist letters. I've now connected with two half-siblings, Chris, 27, and Mia, 18, from Dad's other relationships. They have their own fund. We've confirmed everything through legal review and DNA. I'm sharing this not for drama, but so the full picture is known. I honored grandparents' spirit by sharing generously when I didn't have to. Their response changed that. Please stop contacting me about this. I wish everyone peace moving forward. Love, Emily. Attachments. Scanned grandparents' letter to me. Key excerpts from Chris and Mia's letters, with their permission. Redacted DNA results summary. The cease and desist letter. Names visible. Timeline PDF I'd prepared. No photos of us yet. No direct accusations. Just undeniable documents. I hit send, then closed the laptop. Heart pounding, but steady. Exposure, controlled, factual, complete. Within hours, the family chat exploded. I wasn't in most of them anymore, but Chris and Mia forwarded screenshots. Shock, confusion, anger aimed at Dad now. Who knew about other kids? Grandparents set up two funds? Mia was born after the second marriage? Stepmom found out everything that night. The affair that produced Mia, during her marriage to Dad. Overheard blowout fight, a neighbor told a cousin. Screaming, doors slamming, Dad's clothes in garbage bags on the driveway. She told him to leave, for good. Joe and Mac's image cracked wide open, from wronged little brothers fighting greedy sister to entitled kids harassing the sister who already gave them $50K they weren't owed. Family opinions flipped. Messages to me shifted. Aunts, I'm so sorry I believed them. Uncles, we had no idea about the other siblings. Cousins, you did more than enough. Dad's reputation tanked overnight. The family man facade shattered. Secrets he thought buried exposed. He called me crying, left voicemails I didn't answer, texted Chris, help me fix this. Chris, no. Blocked. Mac tried one last public comment on his old post, defending, blaming me, got ratioed by family members in the comments, deleted the entire post the next day. Mac went completely offline. The power was gone from them. Control vanished. Image ruined. Family divided. Dad homeless, renting a cheap studio in Tacoma. Stepmom filing for divorce. Joe and Mac barely speaking to each other. Joe refusing to share any of his remaining money. And me? I stayed composed. No victory posts, no gloating. Just lived. Worked, ran my trails. Planned the first in-person meetup with Chris and Mia for spring. Posted a simple story, sunrise over the sound. Caption, grateful for new beginnings. People flooded my DMs with support. Old friends checking in. New boundaries respected. The truth was out. No more whispers, no more lies, no more shame campaigns. They'd lost control completely. Their narrative destroyed. Their family fractured beyond repair. All because they couldn't accept generosity as enough, because they demanded what was never theirs, because they weaponized love, and now they lived with the fallout. I didn't. The anticipation I'd carried for months peaked here. The climax was so close. One final boundary, one last stand, and it would all be over. For good. They weren't ready, but I was. The exposure was complete. The truth had set me free, and them, it had trapped them in the mess they made. There was no climbing out. Not anymore. The end was coming, and it would be final.
January in Seattle can be brutally cold. That damp chill that seeps into your bones, rain turning to sleet, the mountains hidden behind low clouds. But inside my Fremont townhouse, everything felt clear, warm, final. I decided it was time to end it. Not with a public explosion, not with screaming calls or dramatic posts, but with one last, undeniable stand. Quiet, complete, irreversible. I invited Dad to meet me. Neutral ground, a small coffee shop in Queen Anne with big windows overlooking the city. He showed up looking like a shadow of himself, grayer, thinner, eyes red-rimmed. He tried a hug. I'd stepped back. We sat. He started pleading immediately, voice low, breaking. Em, please, for the boys. They're struggling bad. Joe's car's gone. Mac can't afford school. Their stepmom, she's filing, kicked me out for good. I'm in a studio in Tacoma. It's all falling apart. He reached across the table. Just give them something, anything, even half of what's left. We can put this behind us. Family, Em. I let him finish, then slid an envelope across the table. Thick, professional, my final letter, copied to Joe, Mac, and stepmom, sent certified that morning. He opened it with shaking hands, read, face falling with every line. After careful review with counsel, and in light of recent events, I have decided the following. The $50,000 already transferred to Joe represents more than fair sharing, given the original trust intent was exclusively for Smith-Jones children. No further distributions will be made from the account. All contact regarding this matter must cease permanently. Any continued attempts at harassment, defamation, or unauthorized access will result in immediate legal action, including but not limited to restraining orders and lawsuits for damages. I wish you all peace moving forward. He stared, mouth open. You're really doing this? Yes. His voice cracked. They're your brothers. No, Dad, they're your sons, and they stopped acting like brothers the moment they threatened me for money that was never theirs. He tried guilt. Your grandparents would want. My grandparents, I cut in calmly, planned for exactly this. They knew about your affairs. They protected us separately for a reason. They trusted me to decide what was fair. I did, generously, until respect was gone. He had nothing left. Joe and Mac got their copies the same day, exploded. Texts, calls, voicemails I didn't answer. Joe, you're dead to us. Mac, we'll never forgive you. Both threatening lawsuits again. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Restraining order paperwork filed within days. Then the full reveal, the one that ended it all. With Chris and Mia's full blessing, I made one private post, visible only to family and mutual contacts. A photo, the four of us, me, Chris, Mia, and an old childhood picture with grandparents, all smiling. Caption simple. Grateful beyond words for the siblings who choose love without conditions, honoring grandparents' true wishes by protecting what they built for all of us, exactly as intended. Here's to real family. No tags, no names, but everyone knew. The comments from the few families still connected were stunned support, apologies, shock at Dad. Stepmom saw it. Final confirmation of the affairs, of Mia born during their marriage. She filed divorce papers the next week. Kept the house. Dad got nothing but debt. Joe and Mac turned on each other. Joe hoarding his remaining money. Mac furious. You got yours, now help me. Fights, screaming matches overheard by neighbors. Mac moved out, couch surfing with friends. Joe took a second job. Dad's studio became permanent. Begging Chris for money, begging me. Blocked everywhere. The power dynamic wasn't just reversed, it was obliterated. They'd bullied, threatened, shamed, turned family against me, and lost everything. Reputation, money, home, each other. I sat in my townhouse that night. Rain finally stopped. Clear sky, stars over the sound. And I cried, not from pain, from release. Deep, cathartic, shoulders shaking, tears of pure relief. They thought greed would win, thought threats would break me, thought family pressure was unbreakable. They were wrong. I protected my grandparents' gift, my peace, my future. Found real siblings, healed. The revenge wasn't taking from them, it was refusing to give what they demanded, refusing to let entitlement win, standing firm with truth, with law, with self-respect. It was deeply satisfying, justified, perfect. They started this war over money they never earned, never deserved. I ended it, with boundaries, with consequences, with freedom. The climax wasn't loud, wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. Final, complete. They lost everything they tried to take and gained nothing but regret. I won. Peace, family, real family, future, and the knowledge that I had honored my grandparents perfectly by protecting what they built from the people who would have destroyed it. The war was over. I'd won, completely. They'd never threaten me again, never shame me, never take from me, because there was nothing left to take. I was free. Finally. Truly free.
Spring finally broke through in Seattle this year. Real spring, with cherry blossoms exploding in pink clouds along the UW campus, sunbreaks that last all day, and that fresh, salty breeze off Puget Sound that makes you forgive the 9 months of rain. A little over a year has passed since everything exploded, and looking back, I'm in a place I never imagined. Peaceful, whole, free. Joe blew through most of his $50,000 within the first year. Bad stock picks, trying to keep up a lifestyle that wasn't his. He's working retail now at a big box store in Bellevue, living in a cramped apartment with roommates. Barely speaks to Dad. Barely speaks to anyone, really. His social media is quiet. No more flexing, just occasional gym check-ins and vague quotes about growth. Mac made it through community college with financial aid and part-time jobs. He's transferred to a state school, paying his own way, sent one text last fall. I get it now. Sorry. I read it, didn't reply. Some bridges, once burned, stay burned. Dad's life unraveled the most. Stepmom divorced him quickly, kept the house, the cars, most of the savings. He's in that cheap Tacoma studio permanently now, works odd contract jobs in sales, but his reputation in local circles took a hit. No more big family man barbecue host. Rare calls to me, always circling back to money or the boys need help. I keep them short, polite, final. He's alone. Really alone. Chris, Mia, and we're close. Really close. We met in person last April, a weekend in Seattle. Chris drove down from Vancouver. Mia flew up from California. We rented an Airbnb on Capitol Hill, cooked together, walked the markets, talked until 3 a.m. No demands, no drama. Just family. The kind that shows up because they want to, not because they want something. We've done it a few times since, planning a bigger trip this summer, maybe the San Juans. Real siblings, real connection. I paid off my townhouse early, no more mortgage hanging over me. The trust money, still growing, steady investments. It's there for emergencies, for travel, for future nieces or nephews who will never be pressured or guilted. For me. I work because I love designing, took on bigger clients, got a raise, even started mentoring junior designers. I travel when I want. Solo trip to Iceland last fall, chasing the northern lights. I run every morning along the ship canal, rain or shine. I sleep deeply. No more 3 a.m. anxiety spirals, no more guilt. People who knew the story, friends, some distant family, ask sometimes if I regret not giving more, if blood should have won. My answer is always no. I gave generously when it was love. When it turned to entitlement, threats, shame, demands, I protected myself. My grandparents would understand. They planned for this. 2 separate funds, clear boundaries. They knew greed could poison family. They trusted me to honor the spirit. And I did. By sharing when it felt right. By stopping when respect was gone. Some say family forgives everything. I say healthy family respects everything. Or it isn't family. Blood doesn't entitle you to someone else's money or peace or silence. I learned my worth the hard way. Found siblings who reflect it back. Healed wounds I didn't know were still bleeding. And the greatest revenge? It wasn't watching them fall apart. It was rising. Whole. Living well. Freely. Without their chaos. Without their demands. Without their version of family. If someone uses love as leverage, threatens you for generosity, shames you for boundaries, remember this. You don't owe them your soul to keep the peace. You owe yourself the truth, the space, the freedom. Stand firm. The right people stay. The wrong ones leave. And that's not loss. It's liberation. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been pressured by family over money, boundaries, or love itself, know you're not alone, and you're allowed to choose yourself every single time. Because the greatest inheritance isn't money. It's self-respect. It's peace. It's knowing your worth. And no one, not blood, not guilt, not Brett's, can take that from you. Unless you let them. Don't. Ever. You deserve better, and when you claim it, the view is incredible. Trust me, from up here, it's beautiful.